Welcome to Friday I'm in Bed.
Podcast for midlife women living their best life, but in bed by 10.
Here to chat and sometimes rant about the news of the week and how it affects us and you.
I'm Kate, a 53-year-old postmenopausal mum of two, whose happy place is at the front of a very loud gig, especially one that ends early.
Gem, I'm 46 years old. I love running and cocktails and I'm child-free, but I am a devoted mum to two very spoilt pug babies. Before we begin, we will occasionally be discussing sensitive topics, but we will always notify you in advance of each section. And we can add support group websites and phone numbers that will help you in the show notes.
Please do like and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts, and do leave us a comment. We love to chat, as you can probably tell. This week, we're covering Sarah Cox's 5 marathons. Yes, 5 marathons, and whether that makes us want to run or immediately take to the sofa.
So talking about the married at first sight bride, whose mum basically wants guaranteed future care and wondering where the line is.
And we're diving into Robbie Williams' comments about Mounjaro making him blind and whether it's adding to the already deafening weight loss chatter online. Hi, Gemma. How's your week been?
My week, God, it's been fine actually. Pretty good. Nothing hugely exciting apart from it being incredibly cold. Someone has definitely pressed the winter switch here because my hands are so cold.
Definitely cold. It's winter coats time, which I'm very happy about. I've really struggled for 2 months after my surgery, and this is the first week where I'm finally feeling focused and like me again. Still can't fit my foot into a decent shoe, but yeah, first week I've felt good. So hopefully it will continue.
That's fantastic news. I'm really pleased to hear that, even if you can't get your feet. Do you think they'll be back in nice shoes for party season?
I am slightly concerned I am never going to get my foot in a shoe that I own again. I'm currently wearing my son's trainers that are a size too big, and I've been on Vinted and I've ordered the same trainers, exactly the same, size 8, bigger than my feet, in a black, because I've kind of just thought to myself, I'm going to be a bigger size for a while yet. And I have about 100 pairs of shoes, so I'm actually quite distressed about the fact that I might never fit in any of them again.
I mean, you could make some money on Vinted out of those though.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, it's first world problems, but I do have some nice shoes.
I mean, it's always first world problems, isn't it? That's we're first world people.
That's right. Anyway, we've got some exciting things to chat about today. Should we get into it?
We have. Let's get into it. So, Women of the Week for me, and all-round awesome icon from the 90s, is Sarah Cox,
who has been running and running and running and running.
135 miles in 5 days, raised something like £11 million for charity. I do believe that there might be easier ways to raise money for charity, but I am blown away by her persistence and such a feat to run that far. And I think there's been a lot of conversation around it as well because she is 50. 50? Yeah. To go out and run 5 marathons in 5 days at 50 is considered, I mean, a lot of people couldn't run 5 marathons in 5 days at 25, let alone at 50. I couldn't run 5 marathons in 5 days at 25. I still couldn't do it now. I did do 1 marathon this year and I was broken for days afterwards. Possibly still broken now, I'm not entirely sure. But 5 marathons in 5 days is impressive. Let's just say that. Do you run?
God, no. This is going to be controversial, or it might not be. Really anti-running. I really don't like running. I think it's bad for your knees. I think it's bad for your joints. I don't like people that run talk about it a lot. I think it's a lifestyle choice that I have never embraced. But I believe you run, so you're going to tell me about how great it is, and I'm going to maybe be convinced or not.
Here is my running sales pitch. It's not bad for your joints. Weight-bearing exercise and impact exercise like that is actually very important for women in midlife. Just going to say, because it can improve your bone density, which is something as we go through menopause, which can cause us issues. So you don't have to run if you don't like running, but I think it's accessible and it can be inclusive and it's there for everyone. I think that a lot of the things that people don't like about running is that they think it's They can't run is what I hear a lot. People say that they can't run. I think everyone can run. They just can't run fast. And once you let go of the idea that you are trying to keep up with Mo Farah, it can be a really, 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 and it's great for your mental health as well. I always found, see, over the pandemic, I did a lot of running. And part of the reason is that I couldn't think about anything else that was worrying me while I was running, apart from how hideous running was. I don't know if I should put how hideous running is in my sales pitch, but you always feel amazing afterwards. I've never regretted a run.
I think for particularly women in midlife, in their 50s, especially postmenopausal, we need to be concentrating on lifting heavy weights. We need to be increasing our muscle mass through weights rather than cardio. I think I'm a real fan. I'm a yoga bunny. I believe flexibility and posture, although, the things that yoga gives you is really good. I agree running is accessible. And I think that's really important. But I think there's other things that, you know, incontinence, for example, as women get older, a pelvic floor muscles, like it's harder with running. I can promise you, I have run, and yes, that has happened. So I think, that I think it's for some women, it's just like great. And I think other women find it just really, really tough. I did do couched 5K whilst I was in lockdown as well. I got to the end of week 9, I did it, and then I never ran again. So I achieved it, but in that time, there was only one run where I just ran and let go. I think it was about week 7, and I never got that back. And every other time, it was just hard work. And I would prefer personally to lift weights and to do more like whether it be actual weights or body resistance weight, using my body instead. So I think we're all a bit different there. Or we both are anyway.
See, this is actually an area of expertise for me as well. Exercise. Both are important, very definitely. I mean, the recommendations, government recommendations are 150 minutes of moderate activity a week, or a combination of moderate and vigorous activity, and 2 resistance training or strength building sessions, plus flexibility work and all that. So it is very important to do both. Cardio is very important, improves your cardiovascular health and keeps you fit and healthy, means you can actually walk to the shops and back again. It does build strength, and that impact is good for your bones. Weights, the resistance exercise, is good for maintaining or building muscle mass. You'll find that you'll build some muscle mass, particularly to start with, but maintaining that muscle mass as you get older is really important. But I think it's not an either or. But another thing that I'm really passionate about is people doing whatever exercise makes them happy and that they can sustain and keep up. If you love running, go run. You love going to the gym, go to the gym. Sarah Cox, clearly loving running. I mean, she might not now. If I just it's in 5 days, it might have put me off it a little bit. But whatever makes you happy, I think is the most important thing, especially if you've never been like a gym bunny for your whole life. I mean, I didn't get into exercise at all until I was well into my 30s. So anything that can keep you moving and that you're able to do as well, because not everybody can run, of course, not because they're not fast, which is what I was saying earlier, but because they might have physical issues that stop them running. They might have issues with their knees. I do not believe that running damages your knees, just to be clear. But I think running when you don't have the strength in your muscles
Yeah.
can give you knee pain.
And I think that's where when I talk to women, it's, you are losing your muscle mass so fast without doing anything differently. And whatever happens, you need to work on building that muscle, as you said, to help with absolutely everything. I personally would rather go for a 5K brisk walk. And where I live, there's lots of hills. So I'd rather do that than run. There's also, and this is something I talk about when people say you must run, or you must walk 10,000 steps, or you must. Obviously, there's the whole if do you have time, but also a lot of people don't have space or feel safe and have an environment that they feel safe in. So back to what you were just saying about doing what you enjoy, but also doing what you can. Because I live in the countryside and I'm very lucky. There are places I can walk or run. I don't, but there are places, but not everybody has that. And not everybody feels safe to be able to. So it's about finding what works for you, what you enjoy, and what's your environment allows you to do.
Absolutely. Access to safe spaces to exercise and affordable spaces to exercise when you're talking about resistance training and things as well is also a massive issue.
It is.
However,
I was going to say about going to the gym. Do you go to a gym as
I
well
do.
as?
Yes, I do. Yes. And again, I absolutely love the gym. I love lifting weights. I'm not able to lift weights in the same way as I used to. So it's finding something that works for me. So I kind of do both.
One of the things I hear a lot from the women I speak to is you just mentioned about safe spaces, but also feeling that they can walk into a gym. And it might be that the gym is intimidating. It might be money. Obviously, that can be a barrier for many, many people. But also the weight area historically is such a masculine area. The gym I joined, I'm not a member there now. I joined the same gym as my teenager because it was like I was having to take him anyway, so I might as well join that gym. And it was just full of young people trying to pull each other. I'd suggest that's potentially why he was there. Like there was a like and so therefore I just felt A, female, B, unfit, C, old. I'm not well, I am female, but I'm not old, but I felt it. So it's and then they had a female area and there was hardly anything in it. So it's like that I find that really hard. And that's why then I think, well, I'd rather go and walk or rather do yoga because actually in the yoga class, it's full of 50-year-old women. And I feel safe as well as the fact I love it. And I'm quite good at it. But I think it's feeling safe. And I don't always feel safe in the gym. I've got to say.
That That is an issue, and historically, the answer to it has been to provide a women's weights area. There was a gym near me, like, many years ago that said, "We've got this new women's weights area. All the weights are really light and they're pink." Yeah, so that was fun. Yeah, and that has historically been seen as a solution to it. Like, we're just gonna make everything pink and then the women will love it. I think a lot of women, again, come with that fear of the weights area, and they don't realize what that can do to you. So I'm absolutely with you about massively promoting that as well. But to be honest, I think a lot of women learn a dislike of exercise full stop when they're at school. They hate it. And then they don't do anything that isn't a Davina DVD. Do you remember those? Or something like that. They don't do anything for like the rest of their life. And that was definitely the situation I was in until in my 30s, I started running and I play roller derby, a team sport which if any of my PE teachers had heard me talk about playing a team sport, that would have been the biggest shock of their lives. So I discovered that in my 30s, and to be able to find something like that at that age, those advanced years, was fantastic for me. And again, the pretty transformative learning to do exercise. And I get quite passionate about sure that there's something that everybody can do that they will love and will make them feel amazing.
I agree, but when did you start? Because the women I work with, we're in mid-50s and they're starting for the first time and often haven't done anything since school or didn't even do anything at school. And so therefore walking, some weights at home, is a great start. And that could be starting to run, it could be starting to cycle. But when we start saying, lift heavy, actually really, really work on those muscles. I mean, obviously there's things you can do at home. I absolutely know that. But they're like the next step is potentially a team thing or running with friends or joining a gym. And then it all just gets a bit eek for a lot of women who are struggling with confidence, struggling with menopause symptoms, struggling with body issues, struggling full stop, busy, busy, busy. It can be quite hard. We're going to bring this back to Sarah Cox. What she's done is amazing, and I've seen thousands of women, particularly women, going, "Wow, like wow, I'm giving money, Sarah, you are amazing." But I'm also getting a bit like, should I be doing that? Obviously, not running 5 marathons. Like, where do I start? And yeah, I just wish back to the gyms that it was because you can join a gym now. There's my local gym is like £25 and there's a million different things you can do. So it's affordable. I'm not saying everybody can afford it, but it's affordable. But it's the scariest place I've ever been in.
So, yeah, see, I'm absolutely there for that, and that's always a place to start. If whatever age you are, I think a place to start is with walking, is with doing some tricep dips on the edge of the bath, or doing your squats while you're waiting for the kettle to boil. That's the place to start. But it would be lovely if there was a way that to build that confidence with people. I always think I just want to get like everyone in there, and we'll just take it over. We'll get a whole load of perimenopausal women in, take over the gym and just show them how to use everything and teach them that it's not a scary place. It doesn't have to be a
Maybe
scary place.
that's
It
what we
can
need to
be a
do.
scary place.
Maybe we need to start a franchise
Let's
gym
do it.
for and menopausal women. Because, yeah, I mean, I've got a PT, or not using her now, but she's a friend. Her children were at school with my children. And actually, I think she's a year below me. So she's like 52. And she's a personal trainer, super duper fit. And it's so great to go person showing you how to use things who is my age and also does talk about her perimenopause or whatever. Like she's not like everything's great. She's she's very real, and that's great. But I think a lot of these gyms, the person that shows you how to use the things, I'm sorry to sound old, but looks a bit like they're 15. They're not. But that thing that as you get older, everybody is,
Bodies.
but it puts you off. It absolutely the last person, and maybe this is wrong. Maybe I need to sort out what's in my head, but I cannot cope with a 20-year-old girl or guy telling me how to use something. Now, what's that all about? Because one presumes they're trained, so why can't I take that from them? But there's something in me that's like, I don't want you. I want somebody that's a bit more my age. And is that
No, and
I think we need to start a women's own.
do you find what Sarah Cox did with the running 5 marathons in 5 days? Do you find that inspirational, or do you find that so unachievable that that they that she might as well be one of those 20-year-olds in the gym, that it's not something that you can relate to? Because for me, seeing her achieve something like that makes me feel like I can push myself that bit harder, and that, this isn't something that you're going to go, oh yeah, but my days of doing that are behind me. My days of these amazing physical feats are gone. I'm just going to settle with the occasional shuffle round a park run or whatever. Or does it make you feel like you could push yourself?
Okay, so you're asking the wrong person because I just go, "Yay, Sarah, you're great." I don't say I could do that or I couldn't do that or maybe I should. I don't do it. I literally just go, "You're great." I don't. I look at her physique and go, "Wow," like she's strong. And it's not about her size; it's about her strength. I go, "Wow." But for me, the sum doesn't happen where I then go, and I'm gonna do something or even feel anything much. I just go, wow. So maybe that's my issue, and this maybe, but I know a lot of women, I think a lot of women have been saying the same thing, just wow. I mean, you're really sporty, so of course it's made you go, wow. You're sporty, so you've gone, "Oh, I wonder if I could do 2," or "I wonder if," whereas I'm just like, "Nah," like, doesn't even enter my brain.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I mean, massive physical feats like that, I don't necessarily think are something that I'm that interested in doing, because that kind of 5 marathons in 5 days, or something that's gonna really break you, I'm just a little bit like, I don't need to be that broken. But maybe it's that thing of just seeing that someone else can do it that might mean that you could do something that's like a tenth of that, or a fifth,
Yeah,
one marathon.
I wonder, like, how much ageism is involved here, though, as well, because, like, if she was 30, I think we might have touched on it already, but if she was 30, would we have been I mean, obviously, we'd have gone, "That's amazing," don't get me wrong, but there has been, like, wow, that's amazing. And she is 50. And we obviously started this chat with that, because it's relevant to us. But is it that unbelievable? that she's done it at 50, is her age even relevant?
But I think that that's one of the good reasons it's good to see her doing it, because the culture we live in, there is such a kind of youth is king. And it's like women, particularly, obviously, men don't age apparently, but women, particularly, you get this thing where kind of over 35, like off to the dustbin with you, you are done, life is over, nothing for you anymore. And that's just not true. And the thing is that it's never been true. But we, again, live in a world where we don't see women over 35 living their best lives. We see women over 35 suddenly getting cast as the old women with their buttoned up shirts and
So
their
what she's shown us
strings of hair.
is that
So, I mean, Sarah Cox was an icon in the 90s. She's an icon now. Absolutely love her to bits. And it's amazing seeing women still living their lives. Those women from the 90s, like us, those women from the 90s still living their lives and not being relegated to the old lady dustbin of life.
and remember, she was one of the ladettes of the 90s.
Was the girly show.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, wow, she's still here, amazing, doing amazing things. I think maybe the learning is from, the takeaway is that we can do anything we set our minds to. However, most of us can't do that, but that's okay. But keep moving, keep moving, keep building your muscle, keep looking after your body, because as you age, you know, you need to look after your bones. You need, you're going to lose your muscle. You need to be as fit and strong as possible going forward.
Yeah, I think to put the other side of that, we can do anything we put our minds to, but it's up to us what we put our minds to.
Yeah, I'll just do some
Running
sun
even one
salutations.
Running even one marathon is not obligatory.
Caught my eye this week was on Married at First Sight. Do you watch Married at First Sight?
I don't. No, but
Okay.
I get all of the everyone else is crazy for it, but yeah, no, it's not one that I've done yet.
So it finished a week or so ago, but I'm still kind of on catch up. And there was this scene that really triggered me. In fact, it made me really cross. So there's basically a couple. She lives up north, he lives down south, and one of them is going to have to move. And the woman, who is 32 years old, I think, was chatting to her mum about, like the pros and cons of moving, and this happens on every like series. There's always one of these. And the mum turned round. The mum must be late 50s, I'd say, mid to late 50s. And she said, "You can't move. I don't want you to move. Sort of, what about me?" And it made me like, just for us as a parent, because our role as a mum is to kind of get your kids' team healthy, alive, happy, and confident enough to kind of fly the nest. And to say that to a 32-year-old, that kind of made me really cross. But it made me think about all the women out there now who are what they call empty nesters, whose children are, who are leaving home for the first time. But it also made me think about, like, as a mum, do I want my kids to be near me all the time? I don't know. So, I mean, I know you're not a parent, but obviously, what do you think?
I am not a parent, and I also live 150 miles away from my mother, so she was apparently delirious to see me go. Off you go, please. I love that. I mean, that's literally the phrase, isn't it? Fly the nest.
Like, yes.
That's what you're supposed to do. Off they go. Yeah. I mean, I left home for university at 18, and my mum drove me down there and dropped me off. My mum and dad obviously drove me down there. And I never went back and lived at home really, but I always think of where my parents are as my home. But yeah, I just ended up living like 150 miles away. They've never made me feel like I should be there. In fact, I don't think they want me to look after them.
But what's tricky is the whole kind of idea of like, who's going to look after me in my old age? I think, the mum on Married at First Sight was probably thinking about herself, let's face it, but in a kind of like, I need you here, but who's going to look after me? And I've seen quite a lot recently, the kind of adage, maybe like people saying you have to have children, which is another topic in itself. But like, who's going to look after you in your old age if you don't have children? And it's kind of like, is that our role to look after our mums when they're old? Do we feel that we have to? What happens if we do move away?
Something on Instagram the other day about being child free by choice, and I got a lot of that in the comment. Who's going to look after you in your old age? And you go, well, it's not the 90s. That's kind of not how the world works anymore. I'm betting that most people weren't planning to like move their elderly parents into their home and look after them in their old age, like something from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where they're all in the same bed in the living room.
We describe ourselves.
My future.
We often go and nap. This little off topic, but we often go and nap and watch television in bed. Me and my husband, like just mid afternoon at the weekend, and we describe ourselves as like the bucket grandparents. You know how they all live in a bed, like me and husband. We just in bed, just watching television. But yeah, the whole looking after your parent thing, and I think obviously the Married at First Sight thing kind of came from that feeling of you can't leave me. What about me? Have you got siblings? Like, who's expected to look after your parents? I am an only child, so obviously that is going to fall to me, and obviously that's fine. But again, it's this kind of expectation that you have to, or it's such a tricky subject because that's exactly what's happening to women my age, particularly 50s into early 60s, having to feeling like you have to look after and be there for your parents, but you've got your own stuff going on.
So there's a few things that this makes me think of. So the first one is, I'm curious, for the Married at First Sight situation specifically, was the dad around? Was her dad around? Were they divorced, or do we know anything about that?
We don't know. It was just mum and daughter.
It could be with the mum, it could be that she's lonely. She wants it around. But with regards to like looking after, is this something? I mean, I have a sister who happens to live near my mum and dad. I think, love you, Kelly. They definitely don't want her to look after them. But yeah, so she actually is nearby, and she does have children. She has two boys. So is this a thing that is specifically female children that it's assumed that they're going to look after their parents later on in life? Because obviously it's quite often assumed that we take on the caring role. So if it had been a son, would she be like, yeah, off you go, up north, away with you? Or is this something that we specifically expect from female children to look after them in their old age?
I think it is gendered. However, back to Married at First Sight, the mums are like that with the boys too. You can't leave me. So I think there's this just feeling of, well, on the television program at least, women in their 50s saying, don't leave me. And is that because we are, if you are a mum, you are a mum, and that becomes your like only role, and they like fly the nest. I don't know, say you're 50 and they fly the nest. And then hopefully your parents aren't going to get poorly. And if they do, hopefully that won't be yet. So you've kind of got this small window potentially where you are not in a like actively caring role, which is where I am now. And it's kind of like, I'm thinking all the exciting things I can do, not thinking you have to stay by me. But it's obviously a theme because like it happens every year. Don't leave me.
Is it always the mums?
Yeah, it's always the mums.
Again, is it making being, a mum, if that's your whole identity? We've known each other of each other for many years. And like, I don't think of you as someone who ever made kind of being a parent as your whole identity. You always, that was a secondary part of your life. And I mean, I certainly haven't, apart from the fact from my pugs. They are literally my whole identity now. If you make that your whole identity, it must be very hard to let go.
Yeah, I remember having a conversation with somebody when I went back after maternity leave. My son's 17 now, so forever ago. And I was having a conversation with a colleague who was also a new mum. And I told her that I went to a festival. So Herbie was born in the March and I went to V Festival, which was like the June. Like I went out, we went on holiday. Me and my husband went to Spain for a few days and left him with the grandparents, and she was really shocked and actually told me I was a bad mum. And I made a point of saying, actually, being a mum is only part of me, and me being able to do other things makes me better in the long run. It's a tricky conversation, but I think it's just my concern. Is concern the right word? I feel like women in their 50s have either been a mum for a long time, and or are about to look after their mum. And like, how much time have we got just to be us and not to be caring? I don't know. And obviously everybody's different. It just made me really cross, because it's back to that old adage that as a woman you have to be a mum and then care for your mum.
Yeah, yeah, the caring roles so often fall on women, and I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of women do end up making it kind of their whole personality, is that, you know, they expect to grow up, look after their husband, look after their children, and then look after their parents, and that's what they're going to be doing for their whole life. And when they find themselves in that position where they don't have anyone to look after, looking after themselves doesn't feel like the amazing option. If we were taught more about putting on our own oxygen mask first, then and actually, like, yeah, taking that time for yourself, regardless of anything else. I mean, I don't have children, but you know, I am married and I have 2 pugs, and I do find myself, I recognize it as something that my mum did, and sometimes I recognize it as something that I do in some situations, where I'm always more worried about other people. So you want to make sure everybody else is comfortable, and sometimes that's to your own detriment. But then when you then get to that age where then, like the married at first sight example, where you're essentially making your children less comfortable because you don't want them to leave. So
It's a tricky
so
one.
many
And
things.
I know my son is looking at universities now, and come September, he is going to leave home. And I can sit here going, I'm really cross about Married at First Sight and how dare this mum. But I feel like I might cry for days and days and days. And I feel like I still will be looking at, like, find my phone and looking where he is. I feel like I might be bereft, even though I'm also counting down the days till they all leave and, you know, they have their own lives, and I can do exactly what I want. I feel like, so we'll have to discuss this like next September, because I think I've often looked at like other mums on Facebook. I'll always be Facebook going, you know, my son's got to university. I can't, you know, like, it's sort of almost like you're grieving, even though you're, you know, everything is fine. And that's how it should be. They should leave home. I've always thought, oh, that's a bit silly, but it'll be really interesting when it happens to me, because I think I'm going to find it really hard. But that's at 18. At 32, like, when he's 32, I mean, what's that? Sort of 15, I don't know. Do the maths. 27. I'm going to be like 65. You know, like, hopefully I'll be over it by then and he can do what he likes.
It's okay to feel that way. It's whether you then put that on your children. That, like, I'm going to be sad, so you can't go to university. Please give up all hope of future and independence because I don't want you to leave.
Yeah, and
That's a
I know
different thing to just knowing that you're going to be sitting at home crying, isn't it? I think.
exactly. And I know adults who feel they have had to look after their parent emotionally. And yeah, it's not healthy, because I feel like it's my job as mum to always look after, like, I'm always the parent. I don't want them to look after me, particularly not emotionally. I mean, they can look after me if I've, you know, just had foot surgery. They've looked after me, they've cooked, they've been amazing, but I don't want them to look after me emotionally, because that's like my job, not their job.
Yeah, see, my mum will be my mum for the rest of my life. That doesn't go away. So, I mean, she's and my dad, obviously, they're around 70 now, so a bit older than what we're talking about from Married at First Sight. And honestly, the topic of who's going to look after them hasn't come up. Maybe it should.
Flip a coin.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, I moved away just like you. When, like, I went off to uni. I took a year off, so I don't know. At 19, I went off to uni. I went to London, and then eventually, many years later, I moved back. I fell in love with my husband, who lived very near to my mum. And it was wonderful to come back and to have her in my life a lot more. Obviously, really good when she could look after the children and she could spend time with the children. So it was all like good. And then she announced she was moving, and she has moved to the coast and left me. And funnily enough, and I'm going to sound really hypocritical, I was a little bit, you can't move.
See, is that different though? Because you're not supposed to be the one with the caring responsibility to your parents, but they're supposed to have the caring responsibility to you. So if they then are the ones that get up and move away, that's different, isn't it? Then you're allowed to be a bit like, hang on,
No, and I don't know how
what are
long
you
they've been
doing?
down. They've probably been down there about 8 years. So I would have been mid-40s. But I was a bit like, can't move. But it's all worked out well because they live by the coast and we can go and stay by the beach. It's all
Oh, so
wonderful.
now you've essentially got a holiday home. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I suppose the point of this then was it's not actually as straightforward because we do have caring responsibilities and we don't want our kids to move away. Or, yeah, tricky, isn't it? Because
we could kind of go, basically, what we've established based on the very detailed analysis of Married at First Sight is that it's complicated.
it is. And I think that's obviously the thing with reality TV as well. You watch it and you shout at the television and you get emotional or angry. And actually, that's kind of the point. It's like you're watching in on other people's lives. So it's doing what it needs to do. But it is complicated because, on the one hand, you should never put the emotional baggage and like almost emotional blackmail on your child, especially when they're in their 30s. If you're lonely and they are your lifeline and your world, then you're going to. Maybe just don't say that on national television.
And always a thing with reality TV and anything that it's always the highlights reel, isn't it? And it's what somebody else has edited and decided that you need to see. So we have no idea about the relationship that's going on behind that single conversation. I mean, how many times do you see
Exactly.
these things and someone saying, that's not what I said, that's not what I meant at all. It was all out of context.
Exactly. And there could have been the dad sitting next, on this, just on the other chair, not in view, going, yeah, go for it. And they cut that out just to make her look like the baddie. But again, the mum is the baddie. And that is a theme actually that continually is perpetuated on Married at First Sight.
So, trigger warning, in the next segment, we will be discussing topics around weight loss, including eating disorders, body image, and weight loss medications. If you find this a sensitive topic, feel free to give it a miss. We've added support group websites and phone numbers that can help to the show notes. So, I want to talk about Robbie Williams going blind. Have you seen that on the news?
Seen it everywhere in the news in the
Yeah,
last
so
week. I feel like it's been really picked up and run with. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to hear what you are thinking about that.
So obviously Robbie Williams has been using GLP-1s since like 2023 or something, he said. For, what did he call it? He called it his type 2 self-loathing, I think. So he's had a lot of issues with his weight and stuff over the years. Again, gets picked up a lot. And he had problems with his mental health. So he used it for weight loss specifically. And then he said that recently he has noticed that his eyesight is getting worse. And he doesn't think it's old age. He thinks it's the GLP-1s, the Mounjaro, I believe, that he is on. He's noticed that he can't pick out the faces of people in the crowds at his gigs, and he can't pick people out. I think he was at an American football game and he can't pick people out. So he thinks that it's the Mounjaro, not old age. I am on a GLP. I am on Mounjaro. I've been on Mounjaro since May. I also wear glasses. I am under no illusions that my eyesight might be anything to do with that. It's purely age. Robbie Williams is 51, so I do feel like blaming the drugs because it can't possibly be age might be a little bit of another symptom of his type 2 self-loathing, possibly, because he can't possibly be aging and having problems with his eyesight. I did, because I am a responsible human being, go and do some research into this. And I'm just going to get my notes so that I remember. I went to the Diabetes UK website. So it seems that in 2024, there was a study that followed about 17,000 people over 6 years. And there was an increased incidence of a very specific eye condition in people on the semaglutide drug, but they note that the total number of people affected was small. The study couldn't prove that semaglutide directly caused the problem, and obviously that people taking semaglutide often have comorbidities such as diabetes, high blood pressure, raised cholesterol, all of which can affect your eyesight, and getting older, which can also affect your eyesight. So I was just very intrigued by this, because obviously GLP-1s are all over the news at the moment. Celebrities everywhere are shrinking themselves into tinier and tinier sizes. But there's a massive controversy about it. And as someone who's actually taken one myself, I was intrigued about it in general, because a little bit of background on me. In 2021, I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is an incurable blood cancer. And they put me on steroids, and I was very active and then was very not active. And I gained a lot of weight. It wasn't something that had been a huge problem for me before, but I gained a lot of weight. And everyone was like, oh, it'll just fall off once you stop the steroids. Did it? So after a lot of thought and talking to my medical team, I decided to go onto a GLP-1, which has massively improved my mobility, helped with the fatigue that I was having from drugs. And I've lost a lot of weight on it. It's been life-changing for me personally, and I know that it is life-changing for a lot of people, but it gets a lot of stick in the media because of the link to body size and vanity.
I mean, this is a huge topic.
Oh yeah, 20
Like
minutes, go.
huge. And I'm sure one I think we'll dip into week on week. Before, I think my first thoughts are, let's just talk Robbie for a second. Now, I've read, so again, it all depends what you've read. I've read that he has said at times, I am suffering with blurred vision. And the press taken that, this is in my opinion now, has taken that and run headlines that says Mounjaro makes you blind. And Robbie has never said, I am going blind. From what I can read, he's saying, I have suffered with some blurred vision of late, and it could well be Mounjaro, of which it could be, but it could also be aging. So it's a bit like back to you said about the press. The press have taken this story, and this is what the press does. They'll take one story and make it into a massive thing. And because so many people are taking it or discussing it or worried about it or considering it, it becomes incredibly like a massive story, doesn't it? And I think there's kind of like, as you said, is it that? Is it not that? Is it age? What is it? And I think we probably don't know the answer to that, should I suggest? Because we don't.
I don't think Robbie Williams knows, and from that study, I don't.
They know.
Scientists, it's always scientists.
No.
I don't think they know either. There's not a lot of research into that specific thing that has proven any causation, anything other than correlation. I don't think you could prove that specific side effect.
But
But I think the media and GLP-1s as a bigger issue and how it shapes our conversation around it is another aspect of that. They will leap on it. If someone like Robbie says something about GLP-1s, then that they will leap on it because they know that it gets views, it gets eyes on it, because everybody wants to have an opinion on what is essentially
such as us,
a medicine, a medical drug.
Although one of the things I would say, and is that I quite like the fact that Robbie is so transparent. I've actually made content about Robbie Williams over the years because, like, for example, he has talked openly about the andropause and his low testosterone and the effect it's had on his libido. And men just don't talk about this in the press. And let's face it, women don't either, but we're starting to talk about menopause more. And he is talking about that. So for anyone that doesn't know what the andropause is, it's sort of, let's just call it the male menopause, but it's not. And that's what people say it is, but it's kind of not. So men's testosterone diminishes slowly from when it peaks, which is generally in your 30s. Obviously, everybody's different. And it slowly falls throughout your life until your old age when you don't have very much left, but you may well still have some. But he has talked about his has fallen very quickly, very fast, and it's had an impact. So back to Robbie, like what he is doing is bringing up male health, male body image, male libido, like these things that we are starting to celebrate that women are talking about. And he's probably the only one that I can think of that is being
Yeah.
really transparent about his health, about mental health, about body issues, what he's taking, So this, like fair play to him, but kind of like, yeah, the press have jumped on it. Has he actually said it could be Mounjaro, or has the press said that? Do we know?
The story I read in The Sun, which was where he spoke to, I believe, from an interview, I was just seeing if I could find it, but I can't find it, was that he believes it is an age, that it's Mounjaro, and he thinks people should be aware of these side effects. I think being aware of side effects is very important, but I also think that overplaying some of these things, it causes a lot more of the kind of panic around it too. I'm so intrigued. I mean, his honesty, I think, is amazing. And again, and like you were saying, I really appreciate that. And I think it is important that people are honest about their kind of health issues and things like that. And men talking about body image as well, it's very nice to have that taken off just being a female issue. And that's one of the reasons I've created content about taking Mounjaro myself. And one of the things I noticed was the reactions that people have are very kind of polarizing. I had the first time I posted about it, I had a lot of people kind of quietly DM me and say, "Oh, I've been on it for ages." Like they don't want to admit to it. Then you get the people who are like, it's just that fat phobia in another disguise. Basically, you get the people who will be like, before they would have been, aren't you worried about your health being so overweight? And now they're like, aren't you worried about your health and all the horrible side effects of Mounjaro? You can't win. Whatever you do, you cannot win unless you do it the right way.
It's such a hard topic and an emotive topic. So you've obviously shared some of your journey. For me, I have a history of eating disorders. I'm now 53. They started when I was 17, 16. I'm finding the GLP-1 discussion online, which is everywhere, absolutely everywhere, really triggering, because there's part of my brain that's like, I want to take it, even though I don't need it, because that is part of my brain. And then there's part of my brain saying it's absolutely great because it's changing people's lives, particularly menopausal women. So, people are sharing that, yes, they've lost weight, but also their inflammation has gone, their joint pain has gone, their energy levels are up, they're sleeping better, which is incredibly positive. But I also know there's a rise in eating disorders of women in their late 40s, early 50s. It's on the rise and it's triggering old issues and starting new ones. So it's like, it's so multi-layered and interesting. I think it's great you've discussed it in your content. I haven't, because it's just such a tricky area. It's sort of like I almost don't know where to start, apart from saying, if it's working for you, bloody great. But I find it a really tricky topic to talk about. But I think it's great that you are. I think it's great that Robbie Williams is, albeit him talking about one side effect that he's having that might not even be linked. But I worry, like, it's just the mess. There's just so much noise that I think it's really hard to work out what you should do.
It's that noise that I spoke about. If I hadn't been taking it, I wouldn't have spoken about it, I don't think, because how can I have any opinion on it if I'm not taking it? So much of the noise is from people who haven't taken it, that they are talking about it being, everyone just being smaller. They're talking about it as a vanity issue without necessarily considering that there's another side to that a lot of the people on it aren't celebrities just trying to get into a size zero, that they might be people who have had major health issues. Also that it's a diabetes drug as well, and also that they are increasingly finding other benefits to it as well, like hormone regulation and that kind of thing, which keep coming up. I had a friend with bowel cancer who said that her consultant asked if she wanted to go on it because they've noticed a decrease in gastric cancers. Again, please consult a physician before taking any of this as gospel. But
that is where the problem lies, because you can go online and get it. So again, for transparency, I've been online twice in the last 6 months and filled out the forms. This is part of my brain going, oh my God, I want to take it. And I get rejected, fully so. But my point is I maybe I could have got through the forms and got it. And I think people worry about, are people getting it illegally, or are they not getting the support they need? So I think there is some worry from people. But I also want to caveat the noise with I call them the gym bros, is how I call it. Every time I go online, there is always a gym bro, i.e., a 20-something-year-old guy, telling me how to regulate my hormones, and telling me to eat less, move more, and just, eat my body weight in protein every day, and I'll be fine. And whilst, of course, underlying there are some positives in all of that messaging, the overall messaging is one size fits all. I think you've already said that. And I get really angry about this because so I've had surgery 2 months ago. I can't move more. I can't walk. And I'm piling on the pounds because I'm not walking. And so when someone says, oh, just move more, it's like, well, I can't. And it's very ableist to just say that. Plus, there are women, I'm going to talk, obviously, we're talking about women, who are working 3 jobs and don't have time to do all the steps and not go to the gym and so it's kind of, there's that noise too. So I think the biggest issue for me is every time I go online, I either get advert or people talking about weight loss injections, pills, etc. Or I get move more, eat less. Just, come on, eat more protein, get on with it. And it's like, whoa.
A personal trainer, so I am well aware of the gym bros in the
You
world.
are not a gym bro.
I get an assortment of rage about that when you get the especially the 27-year-olds that are like, hey, I help older women avoid falls.
Older women.
Hey, we're not dead. Avoid falls. What the hell? And that kind of thing. Yeah, I see more than enough of that. And I think a lot of it comes from that place of people not realizing their own privilege with that they can eat less, move more. Like I say, my background was, I was diagnosed because of a spinal fracture. And prior to that, I was a PT. I'd run 2 half marathons that year. And so my weight gain wasn't because I was a lazy old moo just sitting on the sofa. People will assume if they see you. I mean, I even had a comment on one of my posts during Blood Cancer Awareness Month where someone said, well, it wouldn't have happened if you weren't a fat.
Honestly.
So that total fat phobia is out there, and it doesn't surprise me at all that people try and get these drugs however that they can. But I feel like that's a different issue. That's that kind of cultural issue where we're all supposed to be tiny, 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 rather than a health issue. And the way that those two things get confused and mushed together, that's an official word, mushed together. Yeah, I find it really upsetting that I saw fairly recently, which was really tragic. And again, the news story was framed as blaming Mounjaro for the death of a woman. She died after being injected with Mounjaro. But when you read the story, what actually happened was she couldn't afford it. She wanted it. She hated herself and she couldn't afford it. So someone said to her, hey, there's a beauty salon down the road that's giving out the jabs for 20 quid. So she'd been having these jabs there for 20 quid a time, had lost a bit of weight, and then got ill and died. And it turned out that they had been giving her a different drug. I don't know which one, but for instance, Mounjaro doses go up to 15 milligrams, whereas Wegovy you dose up to 6 milligrams. So it's the drugs are in different concentration. So presumably whoever this beauty salon was had got hold of the cheaper version, which is dosed in a smaller amount, and then given a dose that was for a completely different drug, because they're not supposed to be distributing medication. And to me, that is the most tragic story, not because of the drugs, but because we live in a world where someone can hate themselves so much and not be able to access any support with any of that they think that their only solution is a £20 backroom shot. And I've, not to bring the mood down a little bit, but I just find that really tragic. And I genuinely think that at the moment the NHS barriers to getting on these drugs are too high. You have to have a BMI of over 40 and something like 4 comorbidities, which is like so high. And a lot of that is what's leading to people going the back alley route,
So
like
what's the
people with
answer apart
pushing their
from
coat open with the Mounjaro pens.
yeah. So what's the answer? Because obviously, of course you need to seek medical help, advice, of course, goes without saying. But this is so multi-layered, isn't it? We'll have to probably come back to it. But I think there's something around questioning what you read and what you see. And that's, I think, the thing I want everyone, like, so bringing it back to Robbie, questioning, did he say that? Is that right? Have the press inflated it? Has he inflated it? Is it even linked? And it's even like I see pictures all the time of like before and afters, and always women, hasn't she changed? Obviously, sometimes it's aging, sometimes it's size, whatever. Ultimately, the emphasis is she looked better before. And I keep seeing, and it's like the original picture is when she was 15 and now the picture is she's 35. And it's like, well, that was 25 years ago, but we all look really, really different. But when I read the comments, nobody seems to be critically thinking and going, well, yeah, she does look different. And I might think she looks better. I may think she looks worse. That's my personal opinion. However, of course she looks different. It's 20 years ago. So I think there's that critical thinking. I want everyone just to, when they see something in the paper, to just do your research, speak to a doctor, speak to a professional. I don't know, just not read the comments
That's
and just
really
believe
important.
what you read.
I mean, we both grew up in the 90s, so I think that we very vividly remember skinny culture that's given us an awful lot of issues, and we were making a lot of progress on that. So sadly, I think the answer is for us to live in a completely different world where we don't all somehow think skinny is best. But failing that, I do think it's very important to have that critical awareness around what you read and to really think about where your opinions come from. Are you just believing that Mounjaro makes you blind, or do you have actual credible source for that? So be aware of your sources. Think about where your opinions on celebrities and people you meet actually come from. And yeah, consult a professional, a proper professional, not just a questionnaire on a Mounjaro site. Because if you chat to a GP, it may be that they can offer you more support with how you're feeling rather than immediately going to weight loss. And weight loss is not the answer to everything. I will tell you that straight off. Hiring a PT is.
Yeah, thank you for joining us for another roundup of midlife chat, hot takes, and occasional moaning. Well, quite a bit of moaning.
Make sure you hit subscribe so your podcast app gently nudges you every Friday, because honestly, who remembers anything without a reminder these days? And also, we like people liking us because we're very needy.
And if you fancy being extra lovely, leave us a rating or a review. It helps more brilliant women like you find us. Have a great weekend, everyone, and make sure you find time for yourself. You deserve it.